Hello everyone, my name is Zach. I am the Traveling Man, and today we're going to finish up our MSC series. I took my first cruise on MSC, on the MSC Divina, just about a month ago now, and now we need to recap because I told you and hinted at it all throughout the vlog series, it wasn't a good cruise. In fact, I think I've been on 13 or 14 cruises now, and it's at the very bottom of my cruises. I told you a little bit about why as we've gone throughout this series. You've seen in the vlogs if you watch them. I just didn't particularly care for MSC Divina, and in this vlog, I'm going to tell you exactly why. So in the last vlog, we were at MSC's Ocean Cay, and that night, I went to the main dining room on MSC for the first time. Now, as I'd mentioned in the vlog, I'd heard a lot about the food on MSC, and up until that point, when I went for that first evening in the dining room, I really didn't have any bad experiences with the food. I had eaten that first night at the Butcher's Cut Steakhouse, and that was just pretty much okay. I said it wasn't really worth the $100 that I paid for the experience, but the food was okay. I wouldn't say that the food was bad. I enjoyed my meal that I had there. All the food throughout the entire cruise that I had on the buffet on MSC was pretty good. I mean, it was decent food. It was on par with what you'd get probably on Carnival, maybe even in the Windjammer on Royal Caribbean. So I have no complaints about the food in the buffet area on MSC either. It's almost like there was this wild roller coaster that you're on with food on MSC though. When I went to the dining room on that very first night, which happened to be the second night of the cruise, of the 3-night cruise, I was sorely disappointed. I just had a very bad experience in the main dining room. In fact, I was going to go to the main dining room on the second night of the cruise and the third night of the cruise. But after my experience the second night, I ended up going back to the buffet on the last night of the cruise and just getting some pizza. Now the pizza on the MSC Divina was like 2 thumbs up. The best pizza I've ever had on a cruise ship. Oh, that was some good pizza. So you can't complain about the pizza on MSC Divina. However, that's probably my most favorite thing about the entire cruise experience on MSC. So, you know, you gotta sort of weigh it against everything else. And if pizza is the only thing that I can come up with as good about my experience on MSC, or my favorite thing about MSC, well, I could have stayed at home and went to Little Caesars or something and saved myself a whole bunch of money. Speaking of money, you got to talk about that too, because MSC still owes me quite a bit of money. But we'll talk about all that. We're going to go back though to that dining experience. My first night in the main dining room. Number one, the first thing I didn't like about dining on MSC is they don't give you the opportunity to do like your time dining. You know, a lot of cruise lines now, it's pretty standard. All the cruise lines I've been on, Carnival, Celebrity, Royal Caribbean, they all give you the choice of your time dining, where essentially they say between 5:30 and 9 or 9:30. Come to the dining room, you can be seated. I always go and tell them a table for one, please. I'm always sat at a table by myself. I always enjoy that. That's what I have come to love, what I've come to expect from the main dining room experience on cruise ships. However, unless you've upgraded to like their, I don't know, Bella experience or something. See, MSC has all these different like levels of experience. I think there's like 4 or 5 of them that you can upgrade into, and each of them costs a little bit more money than the next. So I didn't upgrade to anything. I think I had the Fantasia package or something, but that package did not allow me to have your time dining. So unless you pay MSC extra money, you don't get to pick what time you go to dinner. You don't get to pick any time dining. You just get assigned a dining time. And I was assigned 6 p.m. I would have preferred later, but whatever, it's a 3-night cruise. So 6 p.m. I go to the dining room, and I show up and I say, I'm here for dinner. And they say, yeah, go sit down where you sat last night. And I'm like, well, I didn't actually eat in here last night. I was at the Butcher's Cut Steakhouse. So they show me to a table. They take me to a table that has about 12 chairs at it. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, are other people coming to this table? And they're like, yeah, it's a shared table. You're one person. And you know, other people are going to show up. And I'm like, I'm out. For many reasons, you know, I sell by myself. I'm not uncomfortable eating dinner by myself. In fact, that's the time of day where I can sit, I can look at the pictures I've taken, I can review video. I just like that time to have dinner by myself on a cruise ship, but they were not going to allow me that. They've given me this table with like a dozen people supposed to be at it, and it's during a pandemic. You know, we're wearing masks. They're asking us to social distance all around the ship. Then they're taking me to this table and saying, hey, here are these people you've never met before, enjoy dinner, you know? So I said, hey, I'd like to be at a table by myself. They took me back to a little check-in section, and I waited for about 5 or 10 minutes. Someone came over, they're like, okay, we have a table for you over here. They took me to another table for like 12 people and sat me at it, and we're like, here you go, this is your table now, no one else is coming. So I was like a king at a buffet, sitting at this huge table and no one else came. That was fine with me. That's not why I didn't like the dining room experience though. I'm just sort of telling you about dining and how you can't pick your own dining time, or anything like that apparently on MSC, or maybe I just did it wrong. You certainly can't have your time dining and go anytime you want, so you have to be at assigned dining. So remember that if you're selling on MSC. So it was Caribbean night in the main dining room. You know, the wait staff was all great. I can't say anything bad about the staff in the dining room. They were fantastic. They came over, gave me water. They gave me the menu. I looked over it. You know, there were a lot of Caribbean options, a lot of jerk chicken, things like that. For my appetizer, I think I ended up going with some sort of pork kebab. And y'all, it wasn't good. That pork was like, it just tasted funky. And it was like sort of rubbery almost. You know, it just wasn't good meat. And I don't know if my wait staff picked up on that or not, because when I sort of was done, I don't even think I finished all of it. They were like, here you go, here's some Caribbean shrimp or whatever. They brought me some shrimp over to the table as a second appetizer that I didn't order. So I think they sensed that I didn't like the food. The shrimp was fine. You know, it's hard to mess up shrimp though. The big disappointment came with my main entree that night. It was like the seafood pasta or something, but y'all, the dish they brought me, they sat it down in front of me. It looked like Velveeta mac and cheese that you can make at home. You know, it had those like long little like thin macaroni, and it was so like lukewarm cold. So it's almost like, could you imagine making you some like fresh warm mac and cheese, then setting it over to the side, going off doing something else, and then coming back and it's sort of like lukewarm? I don't want to eat that. I want my pasta warm. This was lukewarm. It had like no taste. There was hardly any seafood in it at all. Maybe there was a couple of little like very, very little pieces of that like salad shrimp, you know, the very, very little shrimp that you can get to put like on a salad or something. A few pieces of that in it, but it was terrible. I think it's probably one of the worst meals or entrees I've been served on a cruise ship. And it has no place on a cruise ship, folks. I don't care what cruise line you're sailing, they shouldn't be serving stuff like that in the main dining room. No excuses for that. The only redeeming quality for dinner that night was the dessert. It was a Caribbean rum cake. It was very good. It had ice cream with it. I enjoyed that. After that, when I was leaving the dining room, I was like, look, after the like seating fiasco, which was whatever. It's just the whole point of them asking me to sit at a table with all these random people when all around the ship they're saying social distance, you know, stay with your own party, whatever. I didn't want to go back to the dining room after that, and I didn't. I just went to the buffet and got food there because the food on the buffet on the MSC Divina was pretty good. All right, so now let's talk about this money situation, y'all, because MSC owes me money. And that's not any clickbait. That's not anything to get y'all like watching this video. Like MSC literally kept some of my money, and they were like, we don't know where it's at, whatever. So it happened on the very last day of the cruise. So now we're on the next day of the cruise, the last day of the cruise. I didn't film much that day just because this experience I had really like had me upset the last day of the cruise. There's not a lot of transparency because MSC doesn't have an app like a lot of the other cruise lines do. You know, like when I've been on Royal, when I've been on Celebrity, when I've been on Carnival, you can go on their app and pull up your folio or your account, your onboard account, and see how much money you've spent, how much money you might have left in onboard credit, things like that. They have nothing like that on MSC. I was not able to pull up and see anywhere how much I had spent, and I was expecting a little bit of onboard credit because right before the cruise, I think a couple weeks out, the price of the cruise dropped significantly, so I called up MSC and I'm like, hey, I would like to upgrade to a suite because I see it's only like, I think it was like $160 more than what I was paying for my balcony. They're like, okay, great. And I'm like, well, wait, before you do the upgrade, it has a veranda and everything, right? There's a balcony. Yes, they said, absolutely, it has a balcony. It's one of our standard suites. I said, great, book it, paid them $160. Immediately after that, I went to look up my room on the internet and to look on YouTube to see if there are any videos of it. Found out it does not have a balcony. It is like floor to ceiling window panoramic view suite, and you know, my bad, right? So I call MSC back and I explained to them, hey, I booked this room. I thought it was going to have a balcony, this suite. It doesn't. Can I get a refund since I did this upgrade literally like in the past 30 minutes? And they were like, well, we can't give you a refund, but we will give that $160 to you as onboard credit when you get on the ship. Okay, great. I was expecting to have $160 of onboard credit on the MSC Divina. Did I have that when I went that day, when I couldn't look up my folio on an app, when I had to literally go physically to guest services, stand in line and wait to be like, hi, could you please print out my onboard account expenses and show me, you know, what I've spent and maybe how much onboard credit I have? Sure, they gave me the printout and I owed money and there was no sign or anything of the $160. So I tell them this, I say, hey, you owe me $160 onboard credit. It was supposed to be added on here. It's not. Can we see where it is? They look on their system and they say, no, we can't see that anywhere. That's we see the price that you paid for the cruise, and you know, we see how much you've spent here on the ship so far, but that's about it. So now suddenly no one can tell me where this $160, this credit, has gone, you know. And I mentioned to them, hey, this was supposed to be a refund for money that I essentially overpaid for the cruise, because, you know, of course, when I told them I didn't want the suite anymore, they put me back in my original balcony stateroom. So $160 was owed to me in one form or another, right? And they simply just handed me a card that had MSC's phone number on it, and they were like, when you get home, call MSC and tell them about it. Well, I'm here now, you know, like, no one could help me, and that really frustrated me, because you can mess with a lot of things, and I can tolerate a lot of things. I've been on a lot of cruises. I love cruising. I love being on the ocean. I normally don't just go and complain about cruise lines it's for nothing, you know, and I think I probably would have been okay with MSC and just been like, maybe that's not for me. But then this happened, and the money thing happened, and, you know, I can deal with a lot of things, folks, but don't mess with money, you know, don't mess with my money. You know, I work hard for my money. I work a full-time job. YouTube is not what I do. It's just a hobby for me. So this is like my vacation time that I'm taking. This is my hard-earned money. No one's sponsoring me or sending me on these cruises. I don't take money from anyone, and I don't get any free cruises from the cruise lines. I paid my money for this, and now MSC is essentially saying, we don't know where your money's at, but it was in their bank account, because that's who I gave my money to, and you said you were going to give it back to me, and you didn't. So it's been about a month now since I got off of the MSC Divina, and folks, I still don't have that money. I just checked. I did call a couple weeks ago, and they said, oh, we'll have it refunded back to your card, your original method of payment that you did that upgrade with, and I still don't have it. I checked just before I filmed this video. So be very cautious if you're giving MSC money, because you might not get it back and you might not see it again. So I did book this cruise because it was a great value, the price that I paid for it, for a 3-night cruise, but I ended up paying a lot more than I intended, and because of that, I will not be selling with MSC anymore. I have no plans to sell with them, and I'm fine never getting on one of their ships ever again. But that's not all. We have other things to discuss. That's why there's no footage from the sea day, the last sea day of the cruise, because I just simply had it at that point and was like, I'm done. So I'm here to tell you, it wasn't great. And that happening with the money situation really just sent me overboard. No pun intended. So I want to review a few things about the cruise experience, about MSC, and let you know sort of what I felt about it. We'll start with the ship. I felt like the ship was a bit dated, especially for a ship that came out in 2012. It felt very bland and just boring. Like when I would leave my stateroom and go walk around the ship, I would just be like, maybe I'll go back to my room and hang out. Like nothing felt really inspiring on the ship. I've been on Carnival Mardi Gras back in the summer on its inaugural sailing, and really enjoyed how beautiful the ship was. There was a lot of colors on that ship, and it really makes you feel excited. It makes you feel vibrant, like you're on vacation. Most recently was on Celebrity Apex, and a beautiful like piece of art that ship is, and it was just exciting to walk around the ship, but I didn't have that with MSC. It just felt very like bland and boring and plain. So I didn't like the ship. I didn't very much care for it. I didn't like the layout either. It felt like you know, there were maybe 2 or 3 decks where there were things for people, and then otherwise it was just like passenger deck. The Lido deck, the pool deck, was just very bland and plain. There wasn't anything exciting out there. Now, you're not going to find ropes course, and that's fine with me. You know, I like Celebrity now. They're my favorite. They don't have ropes courses. They don't have roller coasters on the top deck. MSC didn't either, but their presentation was just off. It was very, just like I said, bland. It was very plain. It was very boring, you know. So I didn't like the ship. The ship actually reminded me, I guess, if I had to compare the interior design and all the fittings on the ship, it sort of reminded me of a Carnival Fantasy class ship. It's sort of very gaudy appearance, even though it was like built and designed in 2012. The next thing I want to talk about was the food, and I've sort of already talked at length about that so far this video, so I will just say that the food had its highs and the food had its lows. Generally didn't get why people, you know, put down the food on MSC, but I only felt like that when I was eating in the buffet. And then I told you about my bad experience in the main dining room. I would never go back to the main dining room, I don't think, on an MSC ship. Even if I did happen to go on a cruise on MSC, I think I would just be like in the buffet area every day. They did have good offerings there. Like I had those ribs that day. I had the sweet potato, cream sweet potato dish. That was very, very good. The pizza was always very good. The breakfast was good. I don't know if I showed it or not, and if I have the clip, I'll actually insert it here. But they had this French toast for breakfast one day, and that French toast, I said it in the video clip, I say it again now, was the best French toast I'd had on a cruise ship. So that was on the buffet on MSC, so it was very hit or miss, the food. So like I said, the Butcher's Cut Steakhouse was fine. I just wouldn't pay $100 to do that chef's table experience again. So, I would probably give the food overall, factoring in the main dining room, maybe like a C. So now the itinerary. This was just a 3-day cruise. It left Port Canaveral. Originally, we were supposed to sail from Port Canaveral to Ocean Cay Marine Reserve, which is MSC's private island experience, and then have a day in Nassau. However, we were told that, due to so many ships going to be at Nassau, we do have to cancel that stop. So it ended up being MSC's private island one day and then a day at sea the next day. Now, they did compensate us $100 onboard credit due to missing Nassau, which was, I feel, very generous, and I will give them credit for that. So not the most exciting itinerary, but I knew that going into it. It was a very cloudy, very rainy day at MSC's Ocean Cay, so I didn't really enjoy the itinerary, but like I said, that's me. I booked it knowing that, and it was more about, getting a feel of MSC on the ship for me. Now we're going to talk about the staff, and much like the food, the staff on MSC was very hit or miss. Now I'll say overall, the staff was very nice, the staff was very courteous. I had a very great room steward. My room steward was incredible, always very nice, always very courteous every time we ran into one another. So I give him all the credit in the world, probably the best of the crew that I interacted with on the ship. However, some of the crew was just, I felt rude at times. And I hadn't really ever experienced that on a cruise ship before. I don't feel like the staff was as courteous on MSC as it has been on other cruise lines. So I'm just going to leave it there and say overall the staff was great. But there were some instances I was like, whoa, like I've not had this happen on other cruise lines before. The entertainment on board the MSC Divina was okay. Again, hit or miss. There was no comedy. I love comedy on a cruise ship. I did catch the last night's stage production show, and it was actually pretty good. I was like, wow, this is like a really good show. I normally don't go to the shows on the cruise ships, but I've seen my fair share of cruise ship like stage production shows, and this was right up there with some of the best I've seen. So kudos to MSC for that. But I do wish that they had more comedy and more entertainment offerings throughout the ship. It's not just the one stage production show in the main theater each night, that they have other things going on around the ship too, and they just didn't seem to have that. And finally, communication. Communication is key in everything we do in life, but particularly when you are going on a cruise, you want your cruise line to communicate things to you. You want them to lay things out and be transparent with what's going on, such as the embarkation process and how to check in and what time you're supposed to check in and where your money's at. Where's my money, MSC? I really want to know. Let me know down in the comments below if you know where's my $160, because I'm gonna need it back. And I feel like MSC lacks on communication. First of all, I'm not in love with their website and like the booking experience. It's very bland. It's as bland as their ship. It's not a fun booking experience. And then when you go to check in, it's like, okay, I want to check in my time, what time I'm supposed to arrive at the port, but that didn't happen. And then I ended up like randomly getting sent documents to my email one day that said I was supposed to check in at 3:30 p.m. It didn't give me any option. It just said show up at 3:30 p.m. And I was like, y'all, the ship sails at 6 p.m. That's awful late, right? If I'm checking in at 3:30, I might not get on board till 4. Don't we have to do muster drill? And I didn't know what was up with that. And no one communicated. There was no information on their website. It just seemed like they assigned check-in times for everybody. And it's like, well, you would think you would let guests pick it themselves, so that, if they were maybe going to get in earlier, they could, get an earlier arrival time or later, whatever the case may be. But none of that. You can't pick your check-in time, apparently. You can't pick your dining time. I don't feel like they gave me a lot of information. And I didn't do a lot of research either. I didn't watch, anyone's YouTube vlogs about MSC. I wanted to go into this and create my own opinions about MSC, and boy, did I. So let me know down in the comments down below, have you sailed on MSC before? What do you think of MSC? What have you heard about MSC? I want to hear it all. A lot of you have already shared your experiences in comments on videos past, and it seems the consensus so far has been that folks have consistently have bad experiences with MSC, and that was my opinion also. I will not sail or pursue another MSC cruise. I don't want to, be gifted an MSC cruise. I'm just content to continue to sail with Celebrity and Royal and Carnival, and try some other cruise lines in there as well. And we will in 2022. We have a whole year plan of cruises and vacations and exploration here on Zach the Traveling Man. So make sure you go down below and hit that subscribe button. Folks, we have a lot of adventures to go on in 2022. Went on 4 cruises this year, just between the end of June till, the middle of November. So it's been a very busy year, but I thank you so much for following along. Thank you so much to you who send me messages and comments each week to give me the thumbs up. Any engagement you can give me with my channel greatly helps it. And I'm trying to grow as much as I can because I want as many people as possible to join in our community here of travels and to talk about travel and to share our experiences together. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next adventure. And hey, we have 3 cruises, I'll say, to go on in January and February of 2022 alone. So that's 2 Royal cruises and 1 cruise on the Celebrity Edge. And I'll see you very soon on the next adventure.